Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of our planet's hottest entertainment with an edge from a galaxy far, far away. I'm En Fuego here, welcoming you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment, and yes, this is another brief bit of Star Wars coverage for you. Most recently, I did Catalyst, a Star Wars story, which was a prequel to Rogue One, which is my personal favorite of the Star Wars films since the mouse took over the house of Lucasfilm and started making new Star Wars stuff. And so, I mean, interestingly, I adored Catalyst as far as just, learning about Jynn Erso's father and his history with Krennic and just all of the politics going on in the galaxy far, far away at that particular time, just infighting amongst, people grasping at power, within the Imperial Empire, and, just the stuff with Tarkin. And, I mean, it's a very fascinating book, and I love the hell out of it. And I was like, okay, immediately I'm going to go into Rebel Rising because I want to see what writer Beth Revis did the May after Rogue One came out. So Rogue One came out in December and the Catalyst novel came out the November before. So this book actually came out the following May, I believe May 2nd, 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not as good as Catalyst, unfortunately. James Luceno, I believe, was the one who did Catalyst, and that book is fantastic. It's one of my favorites in this, new canon of books that have been tying in directly and are actually official, and so on and so forth. But yet, Rebel Rising was still good, and I appreciated just, especially more so than anything else, seeing the relationship that Saw Gerrera and Jyn have after he rescues her. And we see him rescuing her in the movie very briefly and stuff, and then we do the whole flash forward and whatnot. But yes, this book, just like many of these new canon Star Wars books, it jumps around. So we initially have our detained Jynn Erso, and she is under a fake name because she does not want the Empire to know who she actually is. And so you even get a little bit of that in this, which is cool. In Rogue One, the actual film, where she meets, Mothma and what's his name, Bail Organa and stuff, which we get in the film. You get that at the very end of this book, so that's not really a spoiler. This basically goes from the time Saw finds her, and it catches us all the way up in all of the strange adventures in between to when she meets with those rebel leaders and is, just getting ready to actually go on that mission to get the Death Star plans. But everything in between is fascinating, but the Saw stuff for me is the best, as I mentioned. After he rescues her, he takes her to this planet that he has to navigate. He has to navigate is it Smuggler's Run, I want to say, which is like a very harrowing asteroid field. And so he's basically posting up on this planet, which is where a lot of other rogues and renegades and others do, because of the fact that it's very difficult to get to. Plus, all of the indigenous life is actually below in the waters of the planet, as opposed to being on land, and could potentially cause any like havoc or danger or whatever. And so that's where she trains with him, and she trains with Saw, battling against these droids. And if you've watched the Clone Wars, you know why Saw, going all the way back to when his planet was overrun with those droid armies and stuff like that, and the death of his sister. All of that stuff happens in Clone Wars, and it's why he still has this intense hatred for them. And yeah, he basically molds Jyn, trains her, toughens her up for sure, and then eventually starts bringing her out on missions. And yet Saw is almost like the side of the rebels where it's like borderline terrorist, what he's doing, and that becomes, he's also very distrustful and tough for some of these other, people who are aiding the Rebel Alliance with smuggling weapons and different things. Like, he's tough to work with too. He's distrusting, and he's also, his means are just very extreme, and it's none more apparent than in this particular mission that Jyn goes on with him and with a few others, and they are basically, like, they get all dolled up for this huge, like, posh event that's going down, and it's like a hardcore terrorist bombing that Saw orchestrates, and there's a loss of tons of innocent life, and then also some of their team members on this mission. And so that's where stuff really starts to, just the friction is created between Jyn and between Saw, and the fact that, yes, he's been like a father, he calls her his child to people, and it's a tough love sort of situation, but she starts to disagree with his methods at this particular point when she sees just how far he will go to just send a message and all of these other things. And as the book progresses, somebody from the past that had some friction with Saw ends up basically outing Jynn as to who she actually is, and Saw has to abandon her. And so then she's on her own until she hooks up with this mother and son, and Jynn has this little love thing going with this kid. And it's a little hokey, it's a little CW for me, and that's why I definitely prefer Catalyst as far as these Rogue One prequel books that I've read each of so far, in the fact that, you know, being about a young girl, you know, who was going through her teenage years and everything, it's not even a lack of relatability, it's just the fact that it does get, like, a little cheese, especially in that middle portion. Like, once Saw is out of the picture, you know, and, and Jynn is just trying to help, you know, this mother and son out who have kind of taken her in, and they're kind of tied in with some of the rebel stuff that's going on, at least the tiniest bit. And I mean, that's where the book really kind of drags, is about that particular point. And we do find out as, you know, Jynn grows from, you know, when we first meet her in Rogue One and in the flashbacks in this, that, yeah, she is supremely tech savvy, you know, and the fact that she is able to duplicate and forge all of these different, like, you know, Imperial IDs and stuff like that, give them false identities for these infiltration aspects. But after some stuff goes down with that said mother and her love interest, she is back on her own again, and she starts forging credits for this Imperial who, you know, knows what she has been up to and has racked this big gambling debt at this local casino. And so she's aware of what Jynn has been doing. And I'm trying to just kind of skim over aspects of this without going into deep detail, because I still, especially if you love Rogue One, you need to check out this book. The audiobook is very well read. I kind of divided my time between both of those. And yeah, it's just, the book definitely drags in the middle with her, you know, turning into this Imperial forger, and then she goes out with, you know, some people that are in ties with the casino owner, because the casino owner finds out what she's doing, and so, you know, he basically takes her services unto himself. And there's some like slave smuggling kind of stuff almost that's going down, and she falsifies some documents saying that they're supposed to be in this sort of indentured servitude longer than the original agreements and stuff. And so this is where it's not even about the prequel politics stuff that I like so much, and this not even quite being prequel era anymore. That little sweet in-between phase between episodes 3 and 4 that I've gone on record recently many times to say is my personal favorite period currently of Star Wars, because I find that in between, you know, from Sith to Hope, I find just the formulation and the becoming so formidable aspect of the Empire and what they were doing at the time to be very fascinating. This is less heavy on that in comparison with Catalyst. This is definitely more so about the journey of the girl, her ingenuity, her smarts, and just the weird situation after situation that she gets herself in, where, you know, she is either cast off, or, you know, she loses people that, you know, she thought cared about her. And so it's a very sad plight at times, and we all know that eventually she is going to end up, you know, under a false name in that, you know, that Imperial detention center, and she doesn't get along with her cellmate and all that other stuff, and she sees the death for any sort of resistance that goes down in, you know, just the hard labor that all of them are doing. And it's, as far as the audiobook goes, it is very, very well narrated. I wish I remembered to take down, for this review, the name of the audio actress who does it. It's not quite as good as the Ahsoka one, which was actually read by the voice actress who does Ahsoka for the Clone Wars series, but it's pretty damn close, and the girl does a very convincing version of the Jynn Erso, you know, character from the actual film. And God, that actress's name is eluding me at the moment as well. God darn it! But yeah, in any event, if I was to rate this one, it's not in the upper echelon of these new canon novels that I absolutely loved, which would entail probably Lords of the Sith, Catalyst, Tarkin, really like the Dooku novel too, actually. The Dooku novel was good. Master and Apprentice, Claudia Gray, that's another great one. I actually have reviews for all of those here on the channel, as well as a bunch of canon comic book coverage too, because I've been going in the timeline order through all of this. Guardian of the Wills, which I just got a copy of recently, is the next one that I'm going to check out, and that will complete my Rogue One tie-in coverage, and then I can segue over to, I believe, Most Wanted, and then is it Last Shots, I want to say? Those are the two Han Solo tie-in novels proper. And then I know there's a couple other like really young reader stuff. I know there's a Chewie one, I know there's a Lando one, I know there's another Han one, maybe, but that has Hondo in it, maybe? In any event, that's going to be my goal after finishing up all of the Rogue One coverage. But yeah, I extend the grande gracias for everybody who is tuning into this. May the 4th was about a week or so ago, and I ranked all of the Star Wars films, all of the films, including the Clone Wars, including the 2 Ewok films. I know they're not canon, it's whatever. Even through the holiday special in there for shits and giggles. So if you have interest in hearing my thoughts on that, please check out that video, and also here youtube.com/the horror show channel is where you can find all of the spooktacular stuff that I do on that other channel, where we have nearly 33,000 subscribers, and we do trailer reactions, film reviews, makeup tutorials, unboxings, let's plays. I do a weekly Stephen King show. But here, compared to over there, I have less than 1,000 in subscribership, but I'm like 10, 12 away, whatever the heck it is as of this recording. So yes, I would greatly appreciate it if you do the subscribe thing, hit that button so I can get over that 1K threshold and have a lot more creative potential afforded to me here on YouTube. It would mean a hell of a lot, and yes, but first and foremost, and most importantly, gracias for tuning into this. So, I'm En Fuego, y'all have been fantabulous, and until the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego cinemigos, constant readers and viewers alike. But I'm hopeful that we get to share more of this Star Wars palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, stay indoors, read more, watch more. But yes, obviously, may the Force be with you in the meantime.